outcome from the Summit of the Future. As far as a body or an institution is concerned, you hit the nail on the head. There are talks in the United Nations about creating some kind of an agency that is located in the United Nations that would work towards global standards, that might regulate this whole new monster. And there has been some talk about creating something similar to the IAEA. So I think that is something that could eventually come out of the UN Summit of the Future. The other area where some member countries are very invested in is this whole issue of youth and future generations. It may not sound very important to us, it should actually, because we too are a very young country and we have a lot of youth power, which is very, very promising. I think a lot of countries are interested in coming out on a declaration for future generations, very conscious that we have to leave this world in better shape so that the youth can take off and inherit something from which they can then take the agenda forward. So two areas certainly I think where the Summit of the Future holds a lot of promise. So as I said, if we keep peace and security aside, there is a lot of stuff that is happening in the General Assembly which can actually be very, very useful.
Thank you. And it's heartening to know that at least on these two areas there's movement. So let's look at some other areas and let's look at beyond the UN in New York. So let's look at the WHO, for example. Is it, you highlighted the failure in the last crisis. Could you tell us what's happening to tackle the next level of these? Are there any changes underway that will help in the next time these things occur? Changes, is there a global pandemic treaty being thought of? Are there changes to World Health regulations? Is there some thinking going on in those areas which are technical in nature, which can perhaps be nudged faster than the difficult complexes? Many people who work both in New York and Geneva say it's easier to get things done in Geneva because they're all technical people there. New York, everything is political. So could we look at other areas beyond New York? So is there some hope there?
I would say yes. Sorry for sounding so optimistic, but yes. Because this very issue was discussed in detail last year during High-Level Week also, and in the run-up to High-Level Week, this whole issue of pandemic preparedness. I think the UN is very conscious that COVID has come and gone, but there could be many COVIDs in the offing. So I think there's been a very healthy discussion in the General Assembly about pandemic preparedness, and there's even been an agreement. And there has even been agreement on how countries should cooperate. Of course, this is very loose. It is not binding, but certainly there's thinking, and I think most countries are very conscious that the United Nations has to work together. So there has been talk, there has been thinking, and there has even been a document that has been adopted. So the UN is thinking along those lines. I would say that all the trends are very much, as you know, Akbar, yourself, are very much discussed in the United Nations. It's another matter, the latest trends are very much discussed. Member states do engage. It's another matter whether we reach an agreement all the time. But yes, I think pandemic preparedness, the next one that strikes us is definitely something that is being discussed and is being discussed.
Thank you. So maybe that's the third hopeful step.